It's another great day. Hello, good afternoon, and warmly welcome to Live Chat with Paul, live on ETV Ghana, your world of quality entertainment. And this is your most inspiring, motivating, and empowering show. As I always say, our mission here is simple: to help you continue to take the steps needed to fulfill the purpose for which God created you. So stay with us, because today is going to be wonderful, and we have lots of things for you on our show today. Let's kick start with our quote of the day by Thomas Edison. So yes, you have to try it again. Give it one more try. It doesn't matter what you've been through or whether you think that you have failed, just give it one more try. And I believe that definitely you will succeed. And let me ask you, have you ever attended a job interview before? And how did it go for you? Today on Purposeful Living, we'll be discussing how to prepare for a job interview. And we have an HR consulting officer to help us do that. So stay with us. We'll be back soon to discuss it. This is Live Chat with Paul, and this segment is called the Purposeful Living segment. And you also reminded that this show is live on facebook.com/etvgh. You can also get us there. And as I indicated earlier, today we are talking about preparing for a job interview, how to prepare for a job interview. If you've been through one before or you are yet to go, then you have to stay with us so you will learn more about that. And today, to help us do that, is an HR consulting officer, Lene Services Limited, and he is also the founder for Dreams Africa. Our guest is Kweku Edem Damanka. Welcome to Live Chat, Edem.
Good afternoon, Paul.
Yes, how are you doing today?
I'm fine.
Great.
Thank you for having me here.
It's great having you. So happy to have you, and thank you so much. What we want to do is to empower people to be able to do the things they ought to do. So thank you so much. It's great to have you and to help us empower people, those who are preparing for job interviews, whether first time, second time, or whatever time it is. So my first question will be, before you go for a job interview, you might have submitted your CV, your profile, and all that. Why is job interview important?
Well, job interview, and I'm happy we're talking about this because in actual fact, it's the first point of call to enter into any business or organization. And we have different types of interviews that are conducted. And a job interview, a lot of people think about it differently. They think that sometimes is one tensed situation where you have to go and prove yourself, and so people stay all night long trying to prepare so hard, and they end up coming for interviews so tensed up and they don't do very well. But from the HR perspective, an interview basically is just a conversation between an employer and a potential employee. So it's a conversation to have information and to assess, first for the employer to assess you, the potential employee, and also for the employee, the part that many people miss out on, for the employee to assess the organization to see if it's a place they want to work in, if it's a culture that they accept, if they are aligned with the vision and mission of the company, if their interest is there, and if their personality fit in.
That's very interesting. How do I know, as someone who is going for an interview, how do I go there to assess the company? Do I also ask questions?
It's part of the interview. Actually, as part of any well-structured and organized interview, you will be asked if you have some questions to ask. And that is a good time for you to actually also make a good assessment of the company. So there are a few questions that you're expected to ask the recruiter or the person that is interviewing you, to want to know a little more about the company. Probably want to know about the culture. You want to know how the opportunities in there for you if you finally join the company, how your career growth is going to be like. So yes, it's an opportunity for you to also ask questions.
Wow, that's very interesting. So it means that even based on the questions that you may ask. It could be that they will take you, but you will decide to reject.
Yes. I always tell people, and anytime I had opportunity to speak to, especially our young ones who are just out of school, that a job offer is just an offer. And when an offer is given, you have the right to accept it or decline. And you know, you're not obliged to accept every offer that is given you. Like I mentioned to you earlier on, Paul, it's sad that our parts of the world, you know, it's difficult to get a job. And because of that, people end up with any job offer that comes their way. Even the ones that they are not passionate about, the ones they don't have interest in, and the one that probably may not lead to their job satisfaction and career path, you know.
Yes.
Yeah. But interestingly, that question you asked about interviews, before you even go for an interview, you are expected as a candidate to do some background work on your own. That is about the company that you probably, your prospective company you want to work for, and even the industry in which the company is. You need to do some background work, do some research. So definitely in course of doing your research, you have some questions that will pop up. So when you go for the interview, that will be the best time for you to find out. Because not all the information will be on the website, and not all the information will be out there on social media for you to find.
Okay, so I think that you've already started. If you are going for an interview or a job interview, you need to research about the sector or the particular company you are going to work for. So now tell us more. If I'm preparing for an interview, what are some of the things I'm supposed to do?
Thank you. Paul, first and foremost, when you're going for an interview, we must understand that there are different kinds of interviews. Okay. We have interviews by phone, we have interviews by video calls, we have interviews by panel interviews, we have group interviews, we have one-on-one interviews. So first and foremost, if you're going to have an interview, the first thing you want to find out is what form is your interview going to take. There are people that probably due to distance, you have to first and foremost engage them by phone or by video, and then later on meet them in person to do the other assessment that is required. There are some that it's for you to come, and you come and you meet a panel. A panel will be 2, 3, 4 people that you meet, and they'll ask you different questions. All the people on the panel usually have specific duties assigned to them whilst having the interview. So you realize that sometimes, even on some panel, you see someone who is just being intimidating, and one is being all friendly. They are all there for specific purposes. There are some there to ask technical questions, and there are some who are there to weigh or to assess your behavioral patterns, even during the interview section. And some are there to just find out if you are fitted for the culture of the organization. So there are different reasons for which people sit on panels for interviews. So when you go for an interview and probably find yourself in that situation where one of them is being unfriendly, which doesn't need to be the case most of the time, because like I mentioned, an interview is supposed to be a conversation.
Okay. A
conversation to find out if this is where you want to work, and then also for the potential employer to find out if you are best fitted. And where it's done very well, I went for an interview before I started my career with where I am right now.
Okay.
And the lady went in a very informal setting. So I entered the place for the interview and ordered me to sit down. And then this lady was eating a burning katia. And then she invited me to eat. She was just very friendly, very open, and I was wondering, so when is the interview going to begin? You know, because I was expecting that it's going to be all formalized and tensed up. And this lady picked up the laptop she was working on and said, you know, I've been working on this project and we want to recruit some young men to join the company. I just want to know your ideas. What do you think we need to do so we can get the right people? And on and on and on the conversation was going. And by the time I realized, she said, we're done with the interview. I was so surprised. But that's just to let you know that interviews are different. So you don't have to think that you're going to meet a particular you're going to have a particular experience because of what people have told you. So when you're going for an interview, one of the things you need to do is first and foremost relaxed. You know, just have at the back of your mind that you are going there to have a fruitful conversation and prove that you are the person fitted for the job that you are going to be interviewed for.
Wow. So relax, and so it doesn't necessarily mean you should always think that it's going to be a huge people formal way, just sitting down, trying to intimidate you or something like that. So relax. Okay. So you talk about different kinds of interviews, talking about phone, video, and now you talk about the panel one or the friendly one, and then one-on-one also. So are there specific preparations, for example, if you are going to do phone, what you should do if it's video or something? Are there certain things you need to do as well, apart from relaxing?
Yes, when it has to do with phone interviews, you see, one of the things with phone interviews is that means that possibly the person interviewing you wouldn't be present to see you face to face. And so sometimes people take it for granted. They don't really check their setting, where they are, to see that they are comfortable. And one of the key things when it comes to phone interviews is your voice. Paul, you agree with me, if you called me right now and we're talking on the phone, and then you get distracted, even though I'm not present with you, I can tell that you're distracted.
Oh, yes.
Because some way, somehow, there'll be a pause, and I could realize, I could feel it, some way, somehow. So when you're going to have a phone interview, as a matter of fact, you need to have a setting. Decide on the place that you will sit to have the interview. As much as possible, dress the best way you can. You know, it has a psychological effect on you. Because some way, somehow, if you can imagine that you were in front of the interviewer or the recruiter, how you will behave, how you will respond, that is how you should still take this one as well. So prepare your voice, prepare your setting. Let me tell you, even before I conclude this, there was this ad we placed out there because we realized that people were struggling with job placement. So we put out an ad for internship. And the requirement was that do a recording, either by voice or video, and send to us. That was the first stage of screening. So a lot of people were supposed to put in their application through that. Tell us about yourself, tell us why you want to work with us for an internship and the area that you are interested in. And there was this young man who did a recording bare-chested.
Oh.
Now that's just to let you know that because he thought that it was not going to be in person, it was okay to just do anything. So the same way with voice, be clear about your setting. It should be a place that is free from noise, where there's not so much noise and distraction. If possible, just lock your door and be in there and be prepared and be on time. Let your phone be well set. Don't make sure that your battery is not low, the phone is fully charged so that it wouldn't cut off in course of the conversation. And then also if you are the one doing, usually the employer will be the one to call you, you know, so you may not have to worry too much about data. But it doesn't spoil anything if you have some data, so if it cuts, you call back just to follow up, you know. So these are prelim things that you need to do if it's going to be a voice interview.
That is very interesting, especially talking about the dressing aspect of it. Like maybe the person might think that, okay, it's I'm just doing it here in my bedroom, just wear anything and sit in your bedroom and decide to have that conversation. But you are saying that, okay, dress up. Our phone lines are on the screen, so if anyone wants to contribute or ask a question, you can still call in and ask your question or contribution, add your contribution to it. So now that even if on a telephone interview you need to dress up, then tell us those one-on-one and the panel interviews and all those things. How should you choose your clothes?
Okay, Paul. Another thing about interviews is that also you need to understand what kind of job interview you're going for.
Okay.
All right, and what kind of industry. There are some kind of dressing that are not appropriate for certain contexts, and that's what most of the time people miss out on. But on any good day, for a gentleman, a white long sleeve, a blue long sleeve, a neat tie is good to go with. Now, if you can afford a suit, it's okay too. That is in the corporate setting. With our creative people, especially the creative industry, most of the time they love to go casual. But to be sure that you are not overdressing or underdressing, as people put it, then you should want to find out even from the person who gives you the call for the interview.
Okay.
you know,
so you
to
can
find
find
out.
out.
You can find out. You'll be able to tell you. They tell you, oh, semi-formal, something formal. So you are advised, so you are well prepared, so that you don't look odd when you enter in there. And for our gentlemen, especially if you go into those who wear the shiny suits, sometimes you should just know that the corporate world is different and the expectations are different. Usually when you are coming out of school fresh, graduates, there are not many people to advise you, except for people who might have gone for conferences and seminars or have mentors or their senior brothers and sisters who are already in the corporate world advising them. So first and foremost, you have the opportunity to ask what is expected of you to wear. Okay. But if not, just wear, like I mentioned, something white, something blue. It works for many organizations. For the ladies, just make sure you don't expose so many parts. All right? It can be destructive in the sense that, you see, you're going there to be assessed based on your capacity and your potential to do the work, your competencies. There are some who don't do it consciously. That's fine. Probably that's the way they dress, so they think it's okay. But every company also has its codes of conduct, values. So again, to dress appropriately, you want to find out what works for that particular company that you are going into. You can make a call, find out if people that work there, find out from them what is appropriate for you to wear. So you see, all comes back again to preparing even before going for the interview. Okay. Call somebody within the company, go to their website, find out the pictures of how people dress out there.
Great, Alan. We have a caller on the line. Let's just pick this because our time is fast spent. Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to Live Chat.
Hello, good afternoon, sir.
Yes, sir. May I know your name and your question, please?
Please, my name is Philip. I'm calling from Swami, Market.
Okay. Yes, what's your question?
Please, I like the conversation that you are having on live screen. Please, my question is, do interviews necessary usually based on academic?
Is it based on academics?
Based on academic.
Okay, that's about the school that you attended or something?
Exactly.
Okay, so all right, thank you very much. I believe you had a question.
Yeah, sure. And I'm glad he's asking the question because there are lots of things that are expected in an interview section. Sometimes you are assessed based on your technical competencies. Technical competencies will require specific skill set that is required to get a particular job done. So probably you are into auditing. There are auditing specific skills that are required for the job. So probably if you were into the entertainment industry, you may not have that skill because it's technical. You're an HR, there are some technical requirements for an HR role. And then we have the managerial competencies. Managerial competencies sometimes speak to the ability to lead, your ability to organize, communicate effectively, manage people. So usually that is for management requirement. And then we have the personality competencies. Sometimes speak to the issues of values and your behavior. And then we have the qualifications. So every company and what they value as top on the list. Now you hear many companies saying that we are not so much interested in the degrees, but we want if you can prove that you can do the work. That's not to say that degrees are not important. Because, example, if you want a job in academia, you want to go and lecture, one of the requirements is that probably you have an MPhil or a PhD. So you can't say that because now people are saying that it's not academic, is not a requirement, so you also know that one is required for you. But there are some jobs that they don't put so much value on academic competencies or qualifications. But again, it's good that you have that. So we encourage people, especially when you're in school, that you should try and take up internships. Let me give you an example, Paul. I have two gentlemen before me being interviewed for an HR role. That's my area, so let me use that. Right. They are young graduates just coming out from the university or the tertiary institution, whichever, maybe the polytechnic. And these two gentlemen want the HR of executive role, more like entry-level role. Okay, again, that should tell you we have entry-level roles, we have mid-level, and we have senior roles. Okay. Usually you get most of our graduates, if they're those who have not worked before, applying for managerial role. Tell you what, people believe in your potential, but sometimes you need capacity to get work done. So even when companies talk about years of experience, usually it's not about the length of years, but it's about the capacity you've been able to build within that period. And it's expected that probably per that number of years, if you worked the same or similar role, you would have had the competencies required.
Wow.
You understand?
Yes. Okay, so thank you so much. Our time is fast spent, but let me ask you this. Is there a particular question that perhaps is always asked during a job interview that people usually get it wrong?
Yes. One of the major questions that is asked is, you should tell us why you should be given this job offer. Okay. And that question is a question of value, it's a question of substance, it's a question of you proving that I have a track record. I've done it before, so I can do it again. So usually you're advised to use what we call the STAR approach or STAR technique. That is talking about the situation, you talk about the task that you did, you talk about the actions you took, and the result that it gave you.
Wow.
So when you're asked that question, you want to make reference to something you did in similar capacity, which makes you competent and appropriate for this particular job. For those who are more like religious, I can tell you a story of David. David, when he went before the King Saul, he said, I can defeat Goliath. And you are just a youth, a young man who has not fought battles. And you are going before a man of experience, that is Goliath, who has been a soldier all his years. There was one thing David did, which refers to this particular situation. He says, you know what? Yes, you are right, King, I've not. But I can tell you about my track record. I have been a shepherd, and I was in the bush. The lion came, the bear came, and I attacked it. He was basically speaking to what? His track record and experience.
So situation, task, task, and then the action, and then the results. This is so great. Thank you so much, Kweku Edem Damanka, and he's an HR consulting officer with Lene Services Limited, and he is also the founder for Dreams Africa. Thank you so much for giving us this education and empowerment, and I believe that you out there have also learned something great.